Hey guys, and welcome to the second episode of the Fantastic Film Factory, the channel that is all about prop building and in-camera movie magic. I'm Jacob, and today I'm gonna show you how to make a live cast of your own head for under 25 bucks. Why am I making a live cast? That's not even a prop. Well, we're going to make a Batman mask. And this is part 1. The first thing you have to do is to cover your hair with plastic foil, so that the plaster won't stick to your hair. If you end up looking like a retarded psychopath, you've done it the right way. It's also essential to cover your eyebrows and eyelashes with Vaseline, so that they don't stick to the plaster either. Now we can start with a plaster strip mold. Since I wanted a live cast of my head and shoulders, I wasn't able to do the cast by myself, so I asked 2 friends of mine for some help. My friend started by applying plaster strips to the back of my body. Make sure to get a nice and even thickness everywhere to prevent weak spots. You should do about 3 to 4 layers so that the plaster coat will be strong and stable when you take it off. You can speed up the drying process by using a hairdryer. Make sure to just cover the back half of your subject's upper body. When you're done, you can carefully take the finished mold half off. Renew, if necessary, the cling foil on your hair. Now take some paper towels and soak them in water. Place them around the rim of the plaster cast to create a border. This will prevent the 2 mold halves from sticking together. Now I put the back mold half back on, and my friend started to apply plaster strips to my front head. Make sure that the front mold half overlaps the back half. Since the wet towels create a border between the 2 halves, they shouldn't stick together. Make sure to get all the face details, like the nose and eye sockets, right, so that your face cast will be as realistic as possible. But always make sure not to cover the nose holes, since your subject wouldn't be able to breathe anymore. And it's probably not a good idea trying to give advice to your assistant when your face is covered with plaster. When the plaster layer is dried, you can now carefully start to take the 2 mold halves of your head. Then I started to reinforce the 2 mold halves with more plaster strips. When I was done with that, I put the 2 mold halves back on and asked my friend to draw a line around the rim where the front mold overlaps the back mold. Now you know how to put the mold halves together so that they represent the shape of your head properly. Now I connected them with more plaster strips and duct tape and covered the entire inside of the mold with lots of Vaseline so that the plaster we're going to pour into the form won't stick to the form itself. You can use ordinary vegetable oil for this step as well. Now I placed the finished negative form upside down into a bucket and started to mix lots of plaster. I used cold water for mixing since it will slow down the reaction time of the plaster and will give you more working time. But remember to work fast. When I filled the entire form with plaster, I took a wooden pole, which I prepared previously by putting lots of nails into it, and stuck it all the way through the head into the plaster. This will help to mount the cast later on for sculpting purposes. The nails will prevent the cast from breaking and will add some extra stability. Now I waited until the plaster hardened and carefully removed the plaster strip shell. The head looked pretty rough when it came out of the form, but my face, and more importantly, the shape of my head, were recognizable. So I took some coarse-grained sandpaper and my files and began to sand the whole thing down. I also used some multi-purpose wood filler to fill out some of the gaps and air bubbles which were created. I ended up with this smooth-looking bust. Just for beauty reason, I painted the whole thing with some black wall paint. But don't cover the underneath, so that the plaster can keep drying out. As a final step, I covered the head with 3 coats of wood glue. This will seal the surface and will also protect the cast from small impacts. But again, don't cover the lower surface. And that's pretty much it. Of course, the head is too rough to represent such details as skin structure. But for sculpting purposes, it should be sufficient. The next video will be about the sculpting and casting of the actual Batman mask onto the live cast we made today, so make sure to stay tuned. Let me know what you thought about this episode and make sure to send me an email with a picture of your version of the live cast if you're doing such a project by yourself. Thanks for watching, and remember to always stay creative.